Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. As promised, we are broadcasting to you not live because by the time you watch this, there'll be a little bit more post-production. You know it's real because there's a toilet sign behind John's shoulder right there. But anyway, thanks for tuning in.
We gotta prove it's not a background.
Yeah. So my name is Patrick Tan, General Counsel for ChatArgos. You know who we are. Thank you for tuning in again for our weekly podcast. We're doing this for you from the floor of the convention center in Hong Kong, for the Hong Kong Fintech Week. With me, as usual, every week, our CEO and Chief Data Scientist, Reiter. So this week, John and I are going to talk to you a little bit about, we're not going to tell you so much about the Hong Kong Fintech Week. We had a lot of fun while we were here. But we're going to talk about Tether, the blacklists that we've been putting out. You guys have been signing up for that like crazy. You guys keep asking for that. I'm glad we've been doing that as a public service, just to let you guys know which are the latest wallet addresses that Tether has blacklisted. The fact that nobody else has been doing this for a while is just
giving away all the content at the intro.
Okay. Anyway, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Tether blacklist, and we'll talk a little bit about the latest article that features quite a few quotes from John, and this is a Bloomberg article specifically referring to Alameda. Tether that was supposedly ran through Alameda. This never came up in the SBF trial, so we'll talk a little bit about it in the SBF trial as well. Well, let's just jump straight in to Tether specifically, and what's going on over there.
Well, okay, so the blacklist stuff, I guess, first can go through. So we've been putting out Tether blacklist wallets on a number of chains routinely.
Well, yeah, Tron and Ethereum. Those two are the only that kind of really, that's like 98% of the activity.
So these are public lists. We've been putting this out for something like a week and a half.
Well, and everybody keeps asking for that.
Can we get this? Can we get this? Fine. People can ask where we got it from. The answer is the same place roughly that we get the OFAC information. The rest of it from is public, which is, a computer retrieves it for us. It is most notable to me that some of these addresses you look at and they are on some blacklist or they interact with a bunch of blacklist wallets or whatever, known bad actors like wallets. Some of them are, 14 transactions and one of them looks a bit weird. So there's either mistakes, information we don't have, or a process that will eventually make more sense. I don't know what those things are. I don't know what the answer is. So,
I mean, and I think it's important to point this out, is that even before we started to make, because this is something that you guys wanted, so you get an email alert anytime Tether blacklisting wallet. Now, Tether's been doing that. To be fair to them, they've been doing that for a while. Now, whether that's in response to some internal law enforcement thing that we don't know about, we don't know. Whether it's something that based on behavior that they've noticed, or maybe the analytics provider has.
We can step back for a second. So during the FTX collapse, you can see them blacklisting some FTX-related drainer, whatever type wallets.
Correct.
In vaguely real time, which is at least proof that there is some process that does not require a complicated law enforcement procedure, because we know the court wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But I mean, again, the processes are not transparent to us. So, but these are the wallets that they blacklist. The amounts, I don't know. You make of it what you will. They're not huge amounts.
As with most things in this space, we expect it will eventually make sense. It's just not clear what the simple explanation is for how this works. And some of it is clearly the police say block.
Yeah, correct.
Fine. But that cannot be all of it. It's extremely unlikely that is all.
No, and I think at this juncture it's important as well to kind of like let's go back, and we talked about this in a previous podcast, but basically we've seen a lot of walk back this past week, specifically to do with the Hamas stuff and the terrorism stuff. And now we've even seen Senator Loomis talk about how 1%. The last time I heard 1%. Was related to addiction rates and how 1% of people get addicted to.
I am surprised that anybody is asserting specific numbers for things that are really not particularly well known and studied at this point. I mean, not pretending we have proof of a higher number or whatever, but that's not how a lot of this stuff works. You always end up with lower bounds. Certainly, it has been interesting to watch. Nobody ever retracted their claims, particularly because those claims were validated by claims. Some of the source, whatever, primary source data stuff. later political claims are made were a bit crazy, and then the fight gets ensued over sort of who was misrepresenting what. Still, people were blaming the Wall Street Journal for stuff it didn't do. Yeah, it's a bit strange, right? You can't misquote somebody and then blame the guy that was misquoted for doing it. Anyway, it's politics that we're looking at.
Well, politics aside, I'm just kind of surprised that some of the analytics companies who've done fine work have decided to kind of like maybe walk back some of the language or walk back some of the headlines and stuff like that. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense to me, but that is what it is. Okay, so segueing into the SBF trial. All right, the jury's out. The verdict was quick.
Jury's back.
Sorry, the jury's back. Verdict was quick. It's like an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, there was 3:15 to 7:30 p.m.
Maybe
3 hours. I interpret to mean that they decided to get a free dinner before they made their vote.
Fair enough.
I'm sure some news anchor will ask them a question about that. Because people will be on the interviews.
So these jury deliberations did not take a whole bunch of time. And so, well, okay, whatever. Now the next bit that becomes less clear is sentencing, right? Because it could be anywhere between what, like 5 and 10.
Do any of these things have actual minimums? I don't know.
No,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, all the way up to 115.
Yeah, I mean, a long number, a large amount.
We know from our man in the courtroom at the SBF trial that the judge was not particularly impressed with how he answered almost all of the questions.
I don't know whether the jury coming back almost immediately and saying guilty on everything matters or not.
No.
I guess it does.
But the conduct, I mean, like his conduct during the trial, the judge was not impressed.
Yeah, so I suppose remorse, whatever, does count. And if you're like a complete cock,
if you're a complete tool bag, you know, I would think that doesn't engender yourself well. And we know from our man in the courtroom at the SBF trial that on multiple occasions, I mean, the judge was already quite restrained, but he just said that the defendant has an interesting way of answering questions, i.e., he wasn't answering the questions. I mean, like, you know, any judge would look at would have been like, he was evasive, he was not remorseful. I think, at least this is me speculating, is that the defense, I mean, this is all water under the bridge, it's too late for this now. The defense could have maybe played up a little bit more of the fact that he acted in good faith based on the information that he had available. I felt that the whole defense was kind of disjointed, disorganized. It's just not good.
And no strong opinion on much many. A lot of these are effectively paperwork crimes for which it's not much of a defense.
Yeah.
Mounting one is also maybe not helpful.
So that having been one of the points that was not really covered during the trial was the fact that a whole bunch of Tether went through Alameda Research.
So Alameda Research was the largest Tether receiver for Tether, and this never came up in the entire trial.
At all.
Okay, so there are, I think, two principal reasons for this. One of them was alluded to a little bit before. This is really like legal stretched stuff. They were charging him with stuff that had nothing to do with it. So discussing it is a waste of everyone's time. And the extent to which he was rebuked, him and his team were rebuked for trying to bring up irrelevant sort of defenses and points and stuff about staking that doesn't matter. Also, the prosecutor is not supposed to bring up stuff that is irrelevant.
Yeah, correct.
So fine. It is, however, interesting that when you're accused of a whole bunch of sort of questionable financial things and tens of billions of dollars is going to flow through your platform, that nobody ever thought to bring that up because he was charged with a laundry list of every possible form of fraud, essentially. So, you know, interesting. Maybe they didn't feel that it was necessary. Also, once he's in prison for however long it is for this stuff, they can still charge him with unrelated money laundering.
Oh, yeah.
That's, you know, this one thing does not in any way eliminate the other. It would absolutely not be the first time that somebody was subsequently charged with unrelated stuff. Whether the government would bother if he gets 100 years in prison, it's a waste of resources.
Yeah.
Fine. But whether they might go after somebody else for something that we don't really know, so anyway, a little bit complicated. Now, they were the largest receiver of Tether. That has not come up. And there has been some discussion in the Twitter sphere, such as this, of what was really going on there. So I was quoted in some Bloomberg reporting about this. I mean, if you look at the on-chain flows, they received a lot of fresh Tether and then sent them on to other people. So they were not a super large holder. They were a large issuer of Tether. And to me, they really do look like a
your quote was classic. Was like a one-way
bureau de change.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's familiar with foreign exchange desks
So,
at the airport.
okay, for those of you who don't know what a bureau de change is, it's basically a money changer where the money just goes one way.
Well, they were a one-way bureau de change.
Yeah.
So, you know, you see these people doing currency stuff at the airport, train station, whatever, border, various sorts. These guys appear to have only done that in one direction. So how do we know it was only in one direction? Because the flows came in and went out. I mean, famously, not that much Tether gets burned day to day at all, but these guys did not send a lot back to the source. By the source, we mean the treasury wallet of the processing. Now, it has been suggested that their activity was, quote, arbing the pay. Okay. So let's just work through very briefly mechanically how that would work.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say that they can sell Tether above $1 on FTX or whatever platform. So they would need, of course, to produce those Tether.
Yeah.
So they would send dollars, however they send dollars. They would then get fresh Tether, give them to other people, and they would disappear into the ether. All fine. Now, in that case, they're getting $1 back. They sold them for $1. They have $1. They can replenish their bank account balance. Start. Now they're going to be purchasing Tether for less than $1. That's fine. So they spend dollars to get them. Well, they now need to return them to replenish the bank account in the way that it started, with their dollar balance in this case, instead of their Tether balance. It does not make sense that would only run in one direction 99% of the time, because in that case, all they would be doing is what? Taking dollars, sending to Tether, getting Tether, selling Tether for dollars, keeping the dollars. Oh, that's one way. It is not true that Tether persistently traded only one side of the peg on that exchange all the time.
Yeah.
Also, all of their public discussions about how they routinely create, redeem, whatever, were all about going in two directions. So it seems like probably that wasn't quite so true. It's based on the flows, because there wasn't a tremendous amount of returning to those addresses. It is possible there's addresses we don't know about, but again, I don't think there's a lot of FTX-related addresses we don't know about. Similarly, we have, among other people, the Genesis Block folks talking on camera on YouTube about how they would take bags of cash and give people.
Speaking of which, now that the SBF trial is essentially over, and he'll get whatever sentence he gets. How likely do you think it is that, this is obviously just the first scene in a long play?
Well, you mean the part in the movie where they come in and say, well, we'll give you a nice prison if you give us the following information?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing in movies. I have no idea if that's a thing.
Well, also, and as you mentioned, the Genesis Block guys.
Yeah, well, there may still be trouble for those guys.
Yeah.
Those guys also, for example, never mentioned receiving thumb drives in crypto and giving somebody back a bag of cash.
Yeah.
In fact, I've never spoken to anyone in the crypto space who's like, I have a lot of clients that come in and they want a bag of cash. No one wants a bag of cash. The whole point is not to have a bag. That's not even about crypto. That's just about banking.
Yeah.
People do occasionally have to withdraw large amounts of cash. In the UK, the joke stereotypically is to pay builders or something. But there's no demand the other direction. Also, the market cap is way above from zero. It's not astonishing that net the flow is in because the market cap is big. But these guys really do seem to have been very well away. They were effectively running a money changer desk where one of the monies was dollars and one of the monies was Tether.
Yeah, that's it.
They both say USD, but they're of course not actually the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can exchange one for the other. Somebody has convincing evidence that this arb stuff in two directions actually happened, that's fine. If your answer is, they were only arbing it in one direction, then what you're doing is agreeing with us. Yes, if they were selling them persistently at 1.001 in exchange for fresh dollars, we agree. You've just acknowledged that it was a one-way transaction, right? So if I sell a thing that's supposed to be worth $1 for more than $1, and I always charge more than $1, and people keep buying it from me, I'm only going to have business in one direction, and I'm loving it because I can get $1.10 for every dollar. That is a one-way flow of money. That is what we saw. It is not credible that was some kind of natural market activity, arbitrage prices going up and down. If the price is always above $1, there's a reason. It's probably not arbitrage. If it goes back and forth above and below $1 and you're buying it at 99.92 and selling it at 100, whatever, keep the money. If you're always selling it above 1, it means the people who want it are willing to spend more than $1 for it, and that is not arbitrage.
That's more like a service charge.
That is probably what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Correct.
We don't know exactly, but yes, that would make a lot more sense. So, that's a bit like I'm arbing these cigarettes by selling them because they were smuggled across the border and don't have a tax stamp. That is not arbitrage. It is a service charge. I like that phrase.
Speaking of which, so some of you were asking, there is a popular theory about Tether being minted on Tron, Tether being minted on Ethereum, being used to pump up prices. can tell you that based on the data that we have here, there's been no significant net mints of any of these things.
I mean, the market caps have gone up a little bit, whatever, but not huge, and certainly not related to prices in a way that it was at one point. I don't know. We're not gonna. If it looks like the Alameda business was primarily facilitating dollars to get onto Tron, fine. There's no reason for that to impact prices meaningfully anyway.
Correct.
Which means some of the other stuff, which is a panoply of players were receiving stuff on Ethereum. The majority of them were received by one sort of group, but actually it's not quite as dense as Tron, where it really is just that one set of wallets receiving it. Also, we don't have anybody talking on camera at length about the mechanics of where their stablecoin purchases for clients came from on Ethereum. We only really have the Alameda guys, the Genesis block Alameda guys, which we know from the data were entirely Tron. So, no pun intended, the jury is still out on some of that stuff, and more information maybe will make more sense perhaps at some point.
I mean, a lot of these things that kind of make sense in hindsight. Well, okay, that's
One last
oh, yeah,
thing.
sorry, one last
Twitter stuff on
yes.
Tether on Tron.
Correct.
There was an interesting mixer operated, continues to be operated for Tether on Tron by wallets associated with some of the Tron, TRX, Sunswap teams. And it's a wonderful mixer in that the code is fine, the mixer algorithm is correct, it's copied from Tornado Cash, it's the standard textbook implementation like a homework assignment. The flows are just beautiful because many of the users of this mixer sent and then received to single wallets, and you can tell who's who because the amounts match almost to the dollar. We tweeted out some data for one particular large example where even month by month you can see the profiles at 500,000, 2 million, whatever, match exactly. No anonymization has been achieved here at all. At best, they were testing the code. It's crazy.
It makes me sad that was. I mean, they didn't even try.
All of this zero knowledge proof math, which is reasonably sophisticated math, it's certainly not trivial stuff, is being used. But $100 go in, $100 come out. If you look at this for the real mixers, the stuff on Tornado Cash, etc. If you look at the deposit wallets, there's some shape to it, higher amounts, lower amounts. The withdrawal wallets are like all reasonably the same amount because these people aren't dumb.
Yes.
Depositing $3 million every month and then withdrawing $3 million every month to the same wallet, there's no anonymization. Take this as a public service. People trying to use shielded USDT. Do better. There's no reason to waste all that.
Tweet on shielded USDT. What's the trouble?
It's pretty amusing.
It is. All right. And on that note, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and all your comments. We really appreciate it. And we love doing this. So if you have any comments, questions, you want to hit us up, put it down in the comments section. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you for listening. And from all of us here over in Hong Kong, good weekend. Talk to you soon.
Both of us.
Both of us. Yeah. Bye-bye.